All right, good day, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about the next portion of our lesson, which is part 2 of lesson 1-3. Today we're going to be dealing with solving absolute value inequalities, okay? Understand that today's lesson is going to be pretty much a continuation of what we did last time. We're just going to add one small little piece in there, just so you can kind of understand, just so we can kind of add on to what we've already talked about, okay? So with that being said, let's go ahead and just jump right into it. We're just going to continue on page 13, as you can see on the top. With today's lesson, we're going to be talking about absolute value inequalities, okay, as defined right there. Basically, to kind of put a quick rundown for you to shorten this video up, the whole idea of today is that instead of dealing with an absolute value equation, we're going to deal with an inequality, which, if you notice down here, is going to be dealing with these symbols as shown in front of you, which are greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to values, okay? The big thing I want you to kind of just take note of early on is that nothing's really going to change in how we actually solve this out, okay? The value is going to stay the same, or the process is going to stay the same. Really, for today, we only have one small switch in how we actually solve these out. So with that being said, let's just jump all the way down to the try BC and let's just start working these out, okay? One of the big things I want us to look for is what are the similarities and then what are the differences, okay? So let's go ahead and start with this. I'm going to do letter A to begin with, okay? So if we look at letter A, we have the absolute value. It goes a little bit bigger. X minus 2 equals, or excuse me, got yesterday's lesson on my mind, is greater than 3. Okay, so to start this off, we are literally going to repeat the same process as yesterday. So first and foremost, I need to get the absolute value by itself. So that x minus 2, or the absolute value of x minus 2, needs to be by itself. Well, if you notice, right now there's no addition next to it, there's no multiplication, there's none of that. So it technically is by itself right now. With that being said, I can go ahead and continue on into the next step. Okay, so I can go ahead and do the next step, which is separate these. Notice how right now I haven't changed any of the process. When I separate these, I'm going to rewrite it. So in the first equation, I have x minus 2 is greater than 3, just as you see up there. And like we talked about yesterday, anytime I'm dealing with absolute values, I have both a positive and a negative answer. So for my second problem, I'm going to rewrite it as x minus 2. And here's the slight difference from yesterday to today. That greater than symbol is going to flip and become a less than symbol. So now x minus 2 is going to be less than negative 3. So as you can see, the only two things that have changed so far from the original are I flipped the absolute value and my value is flipped just like yesterday. Let's make that negative a little more visible. Okay? From here, I'm going to solve it out just like I would any other problem. Okay, I'm not going to change how I actually solve this algebraically. I don't have to do anything different. I just want to get x by itself. To do this, I need to add the 2 over to get x is greater than 5. And then same thing here, add the 2 over to get x is less than negative 1. Okay? Now, at this point, we could probably do a quick mental check and plug both of these in. If you were to do that, you would notice that they both do work and they both do show the correct answer. So what I can do now is actually work into my next step, which is graphing it. Okay? Here's the key thing. With graphing, there's two main concepts that we have to recall. Okay? Whenever I'm graphing on a number line, an open circle refers to greater than or less than. Okay? A closed circle, so if I do a closed circle on the number line, that's going to represent greater than or equal / less than or equal. Okay? And that's kind of the first key concept to remember. In your inequalities, you're either going to have a greater than or less than, or a greater than or equal to, or a less than or equal to. And to kind of show these, if I was going to use an open circle, the symbols would be a less than symbol or a greater than symbol. If I was going to use a closed circle, they would be a less than symbol with a line under it, which represents less than or equal to, or the other way around, which is a greater than symbol with a line under it. From this point, I'm going to draw my number line, or I actually can just use the one right above here. I'm going to plot it out. I'm going to need to include both my values. So this is going to be -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And what I want to do is basically plot where my two answers are at. Well, if you look down here, we have a greater than symbol, which means I'm going to be using an open circle. So at both of my two answer spots, which was -1 and 5, I'm going to place an open circle at each. Okay. And after that, I want to draw lines based on what this is telling me. Okay. Well, if you go back to like elementary school, the inequality is always going to open up towards the bigger number. So in this case, this expression is saying x is greater than 5. So when I'm drawing my line, I want to find 5, and I want to think, okay, which way is greater than? Well, to the left is 4, 3, 2, which is not bigger than 5. And to the right, we have 6, 7, 8, and so forth. So what I want to do is I want to draw my line, or however you want to do it, pointing towards the greater than side. So I'm stating that my answer cannot be equal to 5, but it can be anything bigger than 5. I'm going to follow the same process over here. We have to be able to read what this is telling me. And remember, once again, it's always going to open up towards the bigger number. So if it's opening up towards -1, we're basically saying x is less than -1. So same concept. I'm going to come up here. I'm going to see -1 sitting right there. I want to go to all the numbers that are lower than -1. Well, to the right of it, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 are all bigger. So what I want to do is I want to point the other direction. My arrow is going to be pointing to the left, where all the numbers lower than -1 are, which are -2, -3, and -4, and so forth. Okay? And that is basically how we solve that problem out. We find our values, just like we do in the other day. Okay? Notice how the process literally hasn't really changed. And the only difference now is that once we gather our answers, we have to plot it so we can state that there's more than just one answer. And we do that using our little number line up top. Okay? And really, that's all today's lesson is. It's not really an addition onto it. It's just a little bit of new information. Okay? Besides that, all we're doing is working with these inequalities to try to define the answer. All right? Please finish up by answering the last question for the video. And I will see you in class tomorrow. Besides that, have a great day.